All right. Hey, what the F happened? Got a special episode today. So welcome, everybody. Stephen Nagy, guest hosting alongside of the world famous Larry Steinhouse of Investor Schooling. And I got some good news and bad news today. Let's start with the bad news. No Chris Nagy. He's already on an airplane flying to Dallas, Texas. We're meeting up with the developers of Private Money Club 3.0 this evening for dinner all day tomorrow. We're going to have a pop-up event as well tomorrow evening in Dallas, Texas. So hit us up if you're in the Dallas area. We'd love to see you because I'm also headed to the airport here shortly to fly out to Dallas to meet Chris and our PMC developer team. So bad news is no Chris Nagy today. Good news is the show will go on. Like I said, we got Larry Steinhouse. And if you don't know Larry, get ready. This guy not only is entertaining, but he can talk the talk, walk the walk, and he knows money better than almost anybody I know. He even wrote the book called Money Hacks. So with that being said, we'll be right back in 15 seconds to get the show started. We got a lot to cover today. Be right back. All right. Time to get this show started, baby. So like I said, my name's Stephen Nagy, guest hosting for Chris Nagy alongside Larry Steinhouse of Investor Schooling, author of the book Money Hacks and worldwide speaker. Larry, how are you, sir?
What's happening, Steve? You caught me in Vegas, man. You know, You guys, whenever Chris reaches out and needs a favor, I'm always there for him. I happen to be in Vegas, so to me, it's 6:30 in the morning right now, which isn't too bad, I guess. You know, that's not bad at all. Actually, I kind of like the time 6:30 being now. You know, I actually wish I lived on the West Coast. I'll tell you why. The stock market would open at 6:30 and close at 1. So I wouldn't have to think about it anymore, you know, because I wake up in the morning. I'll wake up at 6:30 in New York, or actually I live outside of Philly, or New York time. And I wake up and I have to wait for the stock market to open for 3 hours. So this would be fantastic. So I might consider moving to the West Coast just for that one reason. However, I'm in Vegas. The Formula One race is here. That's what I came to see. And it is a pain in the ass. Oh, man. But you know what's cool? The stock market is cool. Did you see what happened yesterday?
I saw.
I'll tell you, it's great. When the stock market rallies like that, you know, and inflation is going down. By the way, I mean, it's finally getting normal. Remember when everyone said after COVID, the new normal, the new normal, the new normal? And we're never going to go back to normal. We're never going to go back to normal. Well, aside for, you know, one or two of those dumbasses who still wear a mask, we're definitely getting back to normal. You know, this is what's happening now. We're seeing inflation dropping to around 4% instead of these ridiculous inflation numbers that we had before, the CPI index. We actually had our wholesale prices actually dropped this morning too. They fell 0.5% October for the biggest monthly drop since April. So that's pretty awesome too. So good things are starting to happen. I actually think the stock market's going to rally. Now, someone said to me the other day, too, that I thought was interesting. They said, hey, you know, the elections are coming up. So if the elections are coming up, you know, whoever's in charge, I don't know if it's the guy who's the president, but whoever's in charge wants to be in charge again. So they made it, they try to make the stock market work. And here it is. Maybe it's true. Maybe it's not.
Yeah, see, Larry, just to give you a quick heads up, we call the guy in charge right now the dude. So if we need to refer to the guy that, well, let me use quotes there, in charge of the country right now, we'll refer to him as the dude from now on in this show.
The dude. Okay, so is it okay if I call him the dementia patient?
Hey, it's your show today, my friend.
What a crazy world we live in, where the president could cheat and get elected and no one cares, except for the people who lost, you know, whatever. Anyway, it's fine. You know, I don't know if you know, I interviewed Mike Lindell a couple of weeks ago on my radio show, and when I interviewed him, he's all over this. He's got everything he needs to know about the election fraud. He's got it on a website. I forgot what the website was, but you can look it up. It's amazing. He's just really all over this, and he's either going to die He's either going to die or he's going to solve the election fraud problems. I don't know which, but I'm surprised that they haven't killed him yet. Actually, surprised they haven't killed Trump yet. But I guess they just can't get through to him yet.
Yeah, so Lindell's all in on that, huh? I mean, he's lost most of his money, right? Or isn't he? He took a hard hit. I mean, they really went after him.
Yeah, he definitely took a hard hit. I don't think he's broke, but he definitely took a hard hit. One of the things he did do was he either signed or sold his company over to his kids, so that so they can't come after it, which is great. But he's still the spokesperson. He still makes a lot of money. He still employs 1,500 people, which is fantastic. It really is. When somebody's giving that much to society, leave him alone. Let him do his own thing. And if it's a conspiracy theory or if it's real, it doesn't matter. It's his life. Let him live it.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Well, we mentioned inflation. This show's usually about money, so let's get into inflation a little bit. As you said, it came out yesterday, a little lower than expected. I think they were expecting 3.3. Came out at 3.2% year over year, down from 3.7% this last month. So we saw a big boom. So what did you see in the stock market yesterday?
Well, I was very excited because it's funny. I had one of my favorite stocks and one of my not favorite company. One of my favorite stocks is Disney. And I've been watching Disney for a while. I've been playing Disney for a while. I buy a lot of calls on Disney. And I'm watching even Disney today. I think actually Disney's up right now. Wow, almost 3 points. Fantastic. That's very good. That's going to make me some money today. So even Disney's one of my favorite stocks. Not one of my favorite companies, as I said before. And it's a great stock. It's a great play. I saw that just about every stock was up yesterday. It was a fantastic day all around. I've got some other plays that I play, which like CCL, and even Ford is back up to 1040. We'll have to see where that goes. I'd like to see that actually hit. I'd like to see Ford hit 15 again, but we'll see. I actually, I like certain plays that I play. So Ford below 10 is always a play. Disney below, if it'll happen again, but Disney below 85 will be a great play again. But Disney's rocking this morning. Wow, it's up 3 points. I might have to go sell some because it's at my sell point.
Yeah. So when you trade, you're kind of doing swing trading where you're buying and selling at the right times. Is that most of your strategy?
Yeah, you can call that. I sell options. I look at charts and I look at nice simple charts. I don't look at anything crazy. I look to see where the stock was. I look to see where the stock's going, and then I decide whether the stock option is worth the price that they're asking for it. If it is, I go for it.
Yeah, it's very, very good. And you teach all this, right, Larry? I know you have.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I teach at investor schooling. I teach that. I teach how to buy real estate with absolutely no money. It's kind of interesting. I actually have gotten to the point where I'm not only buying real estate with no money, I'm actually getting money back at closings. So last closing, I got almost $30,000 back for buying a single family home. Putting somebody in there, renting it, making money on it. But I also got about $30,000 back at closing. It cost me nothing. So it's kind of to me, creative financing is the only way to go. I used to make the joke that if I go to closing with $500, I feel like a failure. Now if I don't come home with at least 10,000, I feel like a failure.
Yeah, I mean, you've been, one of the things I enjoy following you is like I said, you're very entertaining on social media and your radio show and your trainings and speaking, but you really show people too. I mean, your style of just, hey, like here's a check. You'll blur out the account number, but here's the check I just got for $30,000 from this closing, or here's this check from this deal, and you're always just showing people what you do, and then you just literally explain exactly how you do it, and that's really the best way to teach something. It's not about what you can learn reading a book or from some class from somebody that's never actually done it, but learning from people who are out there every single day actually living it and just sharing what they're doing. I mean, what better way is there to learn than that? And that's why I love following what you do, Larry. I mean, Chris was just at your event last weekend in Pennsylvania there, and he was telling me just all the different speakers and experts you had and just how much knowledge was there. So it seems like you're just getting better and better and better as well. Very cool.
Well, thank you, man. Actually, it's kind of interesting. I've been investing in real estate for 42 years. 42 years. Oh man, that makes me so old. So I've been investing in real estate for 42 years, and I've seen a lot of things come and go. It's funny. There's a lot of some people are watching YouTube videos right now of somebody who's been investing for 6 months and claims to be the guru of such and such a whatever. And it makes me laugh because when they go through their first recession, which is going to happen, I'm saying 2025, by the way, and I'm saying the bad recession 2025. But when it happens, all these guys are going to be, oh, I didn't know the real estate could go down. I didn't know that I had to have rent to cover the real estate. Or the Burr method, which, by the way, to me is the burnt method. You know, you're going to get burnt when you do the Burr method. Eventually, you're not going to be able to refinance, but that's a whole other. I could give a class on that, on the burnt method. So all these people are not. They're not really. They don't really know what's going on in the world until they live through it. So when I lived through it, I've lived through so many recessions. I've lived through, several of them. I lived through 2008, lost everything actually. And that's where I gained most of my knowledge on how to do what I do. Because when you try to go to buy a piece of real estate with absolutely no money and no credit, you're not going to know how to do it unless you learn how to do it, which is what I did. I learned how to do it. So I've been buying houses since 2008, saving them, keeping them, and keeping them forever. Hey, I got a question for you and your audience. You want to leave a legacy to your children?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
I don't.
No?
Now, I want to leave a problem to my children. The problem is what to do with all these rental properties that I have.
Yeah. I like it. I like it. Better start educating them now because they're gonna need to know what to do with it. I mean, to your point on the Burr method, I mean, there's so many investors that are probably around my age. I'm 40 that might have got into the markets, in their late 20s or into real estate in their late 20s, around 2008, 2010. But we've seen the longest bull run, market appreciation and probably in history over the last 12, 13 years. And so
oh, yeah, absolutely.
The Burr method have worked great. It's just that's all that they know. And I think you're absolutely right. A lot of people are going to get burned because they don't realize things can change. And when they change, they can change quickly.
So here's what I recommend for people to do. Instead of getting a 1 year loan from a hard money lender, get a 5 to 10 year loan from a private investor or a private lender. And when you do that, what's going to happen is, in case you can't refinance out, you can still survive. And that's the key. The key to it is just to try to stay alive in case anything goes bad. These people with these 1 year loans, they have a target on their back. And the target on their back is going to kill them.
Oh, yeah. Private money, it's pretty fascinating. We were on a call this week, actually, with a producer at A&E Network that does all the reality shows, different house flipping and different house shows and things like home shows and things like that. And he was talking to us about, the various shows that he does and house flipping and how when he kind of got into producing those shows, he didn't know a lot about real estate. And so he's kind of learned about real estate investing through the talent on his shows because he got to a position where they became friends and he felt comfortable to ask them to kind of start teaching them, and they would show him, what they actually did and how the business works. And what I found really interesting about it is he said that through his journey over the last several years of getting into real estate investing himself and learning the business, he finally, over some time, he learned about private money. And prior to that, he had no idea that everyday individuals, people could use their savings, they could use their retirement accounts, their IRAs, their old 401ks to lend money to somebody like you, Larry, or another investor and grow that money, double-digit returns completely safely because it's secured by an asset. And when you talk about getting a loan from somebody for, private money for 5 to 10 years, well, why would I want to lend you money, lock up? Well, if I have an old 401k or an IRA right now, why ride the market? Like you said, if a recession's coming and we're probably going to see a downturn, why ride that when I can take the money, control it through self-directing, lend it to you, double-digit returns, protected, and do that for the next 5 to 10 years? Like that makes all the sense in the world. And what his comment was, this producer at A&E, and he's one of the top people, he said, just nobody knows about this. He goes, I started telling my friends, my family, and they were like, what? And then they started learning. They're like, wow, this is amazing. So he absolutely loves what we're doing with Private Money Club and just thought it was so cool, just what we're able to do, connecting everyday people with investors and borrowers and allow them to do those connections with Private Money Club. So I love you said that. It's cool.
So I actually did a comparison one day. I actually asked the question. I started on Facebook, and I actually did a class on it. Where would you rather put your money? So if you had, let's say you had $100,000, where would you rather put your money? And I gave a choice: a bank, an annuity, a mutual fund, or investing with an amateur real estate investor, an amateur real estate investor. Which would you rather put your money?
Me, I would right now rather put my money with the amateur real estate investor.
Yeah, and everybody it threw everybody off when I said amateur. The funny part is the amateur real estate investor is the best place to go because if he fails, you get the property. Now, interestingly enough, if you do it right and you look at the property and you underwrite it right, when I borrow money from a private investor, I always borrow money I always buy an amount of money that's less than what the property's worth. So let's say I'm buying a $200,000 property, I may borrow $150,000. Inside my paperwork for my loan, it says that I'm signing a confession of judgment that says that if I miss 3 payments, they get the property. So the best thing that can happen to these people is that I don't pay. They actually make more money if I don't pay. So that is how you have to borrow money. And that's how you can convince private investors to give you money. I mean, I take people's IRAs and they invest it with me. And I say investment, but it's really just a loan. They loan me money. I give them 8 to 10% interest. Simple, very simple. I give it to them, and it's for 5 or 10 years, and they love it. I mean, I had one guy who, his Fidelity broker called him back about 3 months after he moved the money. He goes, "Hey, I don't understand why you moved your money. Why would you invest in me?" So then the guy got all nervous. He called me up. I got on the phone with this Fidelity broker. I said, "Hey, listen, let me ask you a question. What investment do you have that you can guarantee this guy 8% interest a year backed by real estate?" He says, "Well, I can't guarantee anything." I said, "Well, I can." And then that closed that door pretty quickly.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, it's awesome stuff, man. So just to kind of pivot for a second. So Chris had sent as you guys know, Chris and myself, we read a lot of newsletters and white papers and things that, kind of outside of the mainstream media. And Larry, I know you do a lot of the similar. So Chris had sent over a newsletter this morning to me that he just wanted me to share on the show this morning. He's talked a little bit about what did happen yesterday with inflation and the market boom and just how a lot of people might get a little comfort that, things are okay right now. But in reality, what's really happening. So I'm just going to read this real fast. And Larry, I know you've had a little bit of a cold, even though you sound great right now. I'll give your voice just a break for a second here. But let me just read this quick little newsletter real fast because I found it pretty interesting. So this is titled Shiny Distractions. And it says, unless you were in a coma yesterday, you saw that inflation missed expectations in a good way, with the consumer price index, CPI, falling to 3.2% in October instead of 3.3% that was expected from 3.7% in September. Core inflation, excluding food and energy, remained at 4%, driven mainly by shelter. Falling energy prices, gasoline dropped 5.3%, were the biggest contributor to declining overall CPI. The news sent the S&P 500 up more than 2% and drove 10-year Treasury bond yields below 4.5%, indicating that everything was right with the financial world. On Monday, financial futures showed that 85% of participants expected the Fed to stand pat at the December 13th meeting. On Tuesday, the percentage had jumped to 95%. So people are thinking that the Fed is not going to continue to raise rates at this point. So rising equities, falling yields, and no Fed movement collectively have become the loaded side of the boat. It appears that everyone is calling for clear skies, but to what end? Inflation of 3.2% means that prices are still higher than last year, not falling. We're not seeing any sign that overall prices are going down. With real average earnings declining, standards of living are falling, not improving. If real retail sales decline, then corporate earnings will disappoint. And if the Fed sticks to quantitative tightening by shrinking its balance sheet while other big treasury buyers think Japan and China reduce their holdings, then yields might not give up much ground. It's sort of like the situation with Charlie Brown, Lucy, and the football, except that Lucy, Chair Powell, is telling us Charlie Brown that she will move the ball. We just don't believe her. See, the CPI report showed progress on inflation, but not a win. Chair Powell has said many times that he wants inflation dead and buried before he's comfortable claiming success. And this doesn't address the declining Fed balance sheet in any way. The party in the markets yesterday seemed premature, as if we were too focused on one thing and drowning out Powell's words, even though he often repeats the same message. The runs from 4,100 to 4,500 on the S&P 500 and from 5% to 4.45 on the 10-year treasuries have been awesome, but I don't see the catalyst that will propel us higher. Be careful. Falling from great heights can be dangerous. So what do you think about that, Larry?
So King Powell, I can't stand that guy.
Yeah.
King Powell. You know why? You know why he's king? Because he controls the money. Anything he says, he literally, when he speaks, he controls the money. And it's terrible what he does. He needs to be, instead of doomsaying, he needs to be positive. Okay, yeah, I can understand that when he's raising rates, he's not going to be positive, but he should say it in a positive way. The whole market reacts to everything this guy says. And every time he says something, every time he speaks, you can actually watch it. I've actually sat there and watched the Dow Jones, real-time quotes. I watched as he speaks. He says something and the Dow moves down. He says something else and the Dow moves up. And it happens within seconds of what he says. It's actually fascinating how he controls the markets. Not controlling interest rates. He controls the markets. Now, of course, he controls interest rates. I'm trying to make a little bit of sarcasm there. But at the same time, just stop it. Stop being such a jerk. Now, as far as the article goes, look, we've had incredible good times. It is obvious that eventually one of the pundits, including me, is going to be right that the market's going to come crashing down. Now, I predicted the real estate market absolutely true for the last 5 years. I said how every single year was going to be what it was. And last year, it was exactly what I predicted 3 years ago. I said last spring, because spring is really the real estate market. Last spring, you're going to have a crazy type of market where two identical houses will be listed for the identical price, and one will have a bidding war and the other one will sell for less than asking. And there'll be no rhyme or reason. And that's exactly what happened in the spring. This spring, you will see it start to move into a buyer's market again. It's not going to be an incredible buyer's market, but it's going to be a buyer's market. People will be listing homes and they will be selling for less than listing price. And the buyers are going to be able to negotiate with sellers once again. 2 years ago, if you had an FHA loan, you couldn't even get a house. It was terrible. People with FHA loans, the only way you could buy houses was with cash. Which, by the way, I'm hoping that the audience, I'm hoping yourself, is prepared for what's about to come. And it's going to come. 2025 will be the beginning of 2008, if you understand the analogy. It'll be the beginning of 2008. Now, you also do understand that 2012 or 2011 was the bottom of the market. So 2008 kept going until 2011 was the bottom of the market. I picked up a whole bunch of great stuff in 2011, and I picked it all up with absolutely no money out of my pocket or very little money out of my pocket. And it's all rolled over into, my net worth just increases every year just based on the real estate that I have. My cash flow increases every year because I get rental income and I raise my rents. So it's all a good thing. Just be ready for it. And if you're ready for it with money or available credit, it's going to be a great time. One of the things you should do, and look, I tell you right now, get equity loans. I know Joe teaches equity loans. Get equity loans. Get an equity loan on every single piece of property you have. Take that equity line of credit, put it into your infinite banking policy. And when you put it into your infinite banking policy, you now have a policy, or you now have a place to get money to buy any good deal that's going to come. And they're going to come. There's going to be so many in 2025 and 2026 that you're not going to know what to do with yourself. So learn these techniques, have money available, learn techniques of buying properties with absolutely no money and have money available, and you're going to be really, really happy 5 years from then.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with you, Larry. I mean, this is an interesting comment earlier from Jim from YouTube. He said, we're talking about your buddy Mike Lindell. Yeah. He said Mike Lindell's bank in Minnesota told him he wasn't welcome to keep using them due to his opinions. Another great argument for BYOB. So that's what Larry was talking about with the infinite banking concept, where you become your own banker. And we use these specially designed whole life policies to create a banking system and take back control of the banking functions in our life. And, this is the United States of America, but there's things that have happened in the last several years that kind of start questioning, how far can these people push it to, take away your freedoms, take away the control in your life. And so anything that, in my opinion, we can do to keep that control is a good thing. So that's a great comment, Jim. What do you think, Larry? Good?
Yeah, it's a great comment. It's a little bit of a stretch, though. Be your own, BYOB, absolutely true, but it's a little bit of a stretch. Mike Lindell had $25 million, $50 million. You can't, although you can put that much money into your life insurance policy, it's probably not advisable to put all that into a life insurance policy. But yeah, exactly.
All right. All right, cool. So I just saw, like, to your point on housing. I mean, do you think, like, if right now you have a house and you've been thinking about selling, it's probably not a bad time to get that thing sold, right? I mean, you see, coming out just today, mortgage demand climbs to the highest level in 5 weeks after interest rates move a little bit lower. So it looks like people are trying to make moves right now in the real estate market and get things moving.
So the biggest problem that people have is they're so news sensitive, right? They think that, interest rates are no longer 3.5%. Oh my God, interest rates are so high. They're 7 and 8%. Look, the reality is when I bought my first house 42 years ago. I got a 13% interest rate, and that was a steal. 13%. That was what I got my house for my first house 42 years ago. So it's not so bad. I mean, I actually believe interest rates 7%-ish, 8% even, are normal. That's where they normally should be. If you got lucky, well, I actually did this. I took advantage of it 2 years ago. I refinanced 13 of my properties at a 3.5% interest rate because I knew I was never going to see it again. So I figured, hey, I might as well take advantage of it. The interesting part is if you go to the bank, now I never go to banks. I always go to private lenders. And I actually disappointed a bunch of my private lenders and said, look, I'm really sorry. I got to pay you back because, you were wonderful to lend me this money at 8%. But right now I could refinance these properties at 3.5%. I'm sure you understand I'll never be able to do that again. So I refinanced them at 3.5%, paid the lenders back, and then went back and bought more properties and went back to the lenders and borrowed that money back again. So if you took advantage of it, you're great. But 7 and 8% interest rates, it's fine. Don't panic. Don't go crazy. This is where the numbers should normally be. And what's really interesting too is now I'm actually borrowing money from private lenders at the rate the banks are lending it to me for. So I don't need to go through underwriting. I don't need to go through these, give me your firstborn. Here's your paper. They ask me for paperwork, and then 3 weeks later say, oh, that wasn't the paperwork we asked for. Why didn't you tell me that day? Just make sure again that you have money ready. Make sure that you're borrowing money properly, and make sure that you take good care of your lenders.
Yeah, 100%. And if somebody's wondering, well, how are you borrowing money from your private people at, let's say 8% and matching the banks? Well, that's what's called a long-term relationship. That's what's called trust. That's what's called basically zero risk. And because Larry has the experience, know-how, plan, strategy, that no matter what happens, he's going to be able to pay his private lenders. And so it always goes back to that risk versus reward. You mentioned earlier, would you rather put your money with an advisor in the markets or an amateur real estate investor? And I would say amateur real estate investor, but what might not have been said there is that amateur real estate investor, they understand, and I understand that I'm going to charge them more than I would charge you, Larry. So I might charge that amateur 15%, and they're happy to pay it because they're still winning. They're still making money off the deal. And they know that they don't have that relationship and trust built, that there is a little higher risk because they're newer, but it works for everyone. Where somebody like Larry, Noah and Christy Harris, our coaches on PMC, people have been doing this for longer. They can easily borrow money all day long for 6, 7, 8, 9% because of that experience, because their lenders have no problem doing it. Hey, here it is. Keep the interest coming in.
Yeah, and you have to, two things. First of all, if you're considering being a private money lender, understand the paperwork, understand that you need a mortgage and a promissory note and a confession of judgment. If you have those three things, your chances of being screwed are almost zero, right? Everybody wants to know the same thing. They want to know, how is my money safe? Am I going to get paid back? And if you have a promissory note, which describes the way you're getting paid back, the mortgage, which lets you foreclose on a property or get the property, and a confession of judgment, which lets you get the property in 3 months if they don't make payments, you're going to be much safer. Also, understand the market. Look, if I come to you and I tell you that this property is worth $300,000 and I want to borrow $200,000, don't just take my word for it. at the very least, look it up on Zillow. I mean, I realize Zillow is, they're haphazard in what the numbers are, but at least know the property. Go to Google, take a look at it, make sure it really exists. Those are just some of the things that I would recommend if you're a lender. If you're a borrower, make sure you prove to your lender that you can pay them back. It's not hard at all. It's very simple.
Yeah, man. All right, so I got something to ask you, Larry. Let me play this video first. So I was traveling this weekend. I drove up from South Florida, where I live. We drove up to Tallahassee, Florida, up in the Panhandle to watch the Florida State Seminoles beat up on the Miami Hurricanes. So go Noles! But I had a great time. But on the way home, we stopped at one of the little service centers off the Turnpike, off the Florida Turnpike. And here's what I saw. So I'm going to play this quick 10-second video, and then I want to get your opinion on it, because all we hear about these days are electric vehicles are the future, EVs, Teslas, all these electric vehicles. We're going all electric. We're getting rid of all the gas vehicles. And my question, and we talk about this almost every week, and Chris wanted me to save this, but I got to ask you, Larry, since I got you on. So let me play this quick video. So this is what I saw at the service center when I pulled in. So you can see all the Teslas lined up here. Every spot is taken. They're all charging. But not only that, I mean, we got a literal line going on around here.
Oh, yeah, I've seen this before.
Both sides of the road just completely full. And I sat here for a good 20 minutes while we took a break. And it's just constant line. And that thing wrapped all the way around at one point. And you just kept seeing people coming. So my question is, Larry, how is this stuff going to happen? I mean, there's places like California that want to make it all electric in the next, 5 years or something?
2035. They're not going to allow, after 2035, they're not going to allow gas vehicles to be sold in California. And there's a bunch of other states that are following suit.
So are you driving electric?
This is why politicians are the dumbest fucking people on the planet. They really are. And most of them are Democrats are the dumbest ones. There's a few Republicans who are dumb, but these people are the dumbest freaking people on the planet. Listen, you guys want to do something really, really smart? Buy a car pre-1980 that has no electronics in it, has a regular engine in it, spend not much for it, $5,000 for it, put it in a garage, because when everyone else has their electric car and the grid goes down, you'll still be able to get places. It's unreal. It's unreal how stupid these people are. Look, electric car is cool technology. It's cool technology. That's all it is. All right. Yes, I actually don't have one. I actually almost bought a Tesla X the other day for $30,000 with 45,000 miles on it. You know how much a Tesla X was new for that person? $120,000. So even the price of Teslas are coming down. Used Teslas, nobody wants to buy them anymore because what a waste of a machine, right? You've got 10 years max on a battery, and then if you either replace the battery for $30,000 or you junk the car. How are you going to junk all these cars? These cars are beautiful cars, and they're going to be, everything about it is going to be beautiful except this battery that runs the car is going to be dead, and it's going to cost as much as the car or more than the car. So this is not a good play. You want to buy an electric car for coolness, which is the way it should be right now? Great. Talk about the charging stations, right? Hey, do you have an iPhone, Steve?
I do.
Okay. Do you have a 15, a 14, a 12, a 10?
15.
Oh, you have a 15. So you have the USB-C charger, right?
Yes.
Okay. So how long have you been an iPhone fan?
I've had an iPhone for probably a decade.
You've been for a decade, right? How many freaking chargers do you have for your iPhone? Remember the big long one, and then they went to the Lightning charger. Now they're going to the USB-C charger, right?
A lot.
So think about the cars.
Here's me when I go to trips with
right.
cable. I'm not kidding. I'm leaving today.
Yeah, I the same way. I get the same thing because every single thing uses a different charger. Now they're all going to a standard USB-C charger, at least for now. But we'll see. We'll see what will happen. But the whole point is now you got these Tesla chargers, right? With this Tesla connector. When are they going to change that to the Lightning connector or the USB-C connector? Which means this entire grid of chargers that they installed are going to have to be replaced, or they're going to be completely obsolete. That's what's going to happen next. Your charger, you can't charge your car here. Now I know Tesla and Ford and GM just signed an agreement to use the Tesla chargers, but wait, it's going to change again. There'll be someone else will come up with a new type of charger, or they'll say, "Hey, we can make this work," or "Hey, even this, we could put strips in the road that magnetically charge your car, like just like the the iPhone when you put it down on the counter, it'll charge the car, it'll charge the phone." So all these chargers are going to be useless soon. It's going to become a nightmare. You've got too many electric cars on the road, not enough support for them. I'm just watching this industry crash. I still can't believe that Tesla's over 200, still over 200. I keep predicting it's about 230. I saw yesterday. I keep predicting this to go to 150 or less. Now, I've been predicting that for a while, and it did happen, and it just went back up. But I don't see it. I honestly don't see it staying there. I can't see how it could possibly be. First of all, not only the only car, it's not the only electric car anymore, and eventually people are going to catch on that it's just a silly idea. Also, when you look down the road, I got to tell you something about Teslas. They're the ugliest freaking cars on the road anyway. They're plain. They're nothing. It looks like we're in a science fiction movie where the science fiction movie director had to come up with what cars look like in the future and came up with these plastic crappy little things that scoot around. So why anybody would want a Tesla anyway, I don't know. Teslas break. And everything. My friend has a Tesla X, and his screen doesn't work anymore because it has bubbles in it. And this is a common problem with Tesla. How much does it cost to replace? $3,500 to replace that screen. Just the screen, not the electronics behind the screen, but the screen. You can't get your Tesla fixed anywhere. You have to go to a Tesla dealer only. And the guy says, "Oh yeah, it'll be $7,000 to fix that." You can't even go to your local mechanic and do whatever you want. So I actually think that it's a big mistake to not only invest in Tesla, but to own an electric car unless you want one because they're cool, which is what they are right now. They're cool cars. That's it.
Yeah, one thing I learned is over the last several years, I feel like, is not to bet against Elon Musk, though. So it's
well,
you don't mess with that stock. I don't know.
I understand what you're saying. Listen, I got to tell you right now, if Twitter or X, whatever the heck it is now, if that was still a stock, it would be below 20. That's just my thought. I can't prove it. I don't know what the numbers are, but he's had a lot of people leave the platform. By the way, have you been on that platform lately?
Yeah.
It's interesting. Yeah. So X is so different now than Twitter was always bad. For new. I'm not saying bad. It was a great platform, but they always had a lot of negative news. But X is like all negative news now. It's kind of wild, and it's fun to get on there. I don't have much of a Twitter. Never did have much of a Twitter presence. I got lucky. I'm a Facebook guy, and I just stayed on Facebook forever. And I kind of didn't do much of everything else. And when Twitter and Snap kind of became nothing, my presence became huge on Facebook, which is kind of lucky. And if anybody wants to follow me, feel free to follow me on Facebook. Just look up Larry Steinhouse. And feel free to follow me. I'd love to have you. I have a lot of fun when I'm on Facebook.
Yeah, it's X definitely it's kind of opened up a bit. They don't have as much of the censorship and things like that, so it allows definitely a lot more sharing and what gets clicks and what gets engagement. It's negativity. I mean, it's why you see legacy media and news sites. You turn on the news for 5 minutes and you hear 10 different negative stories. I mean, I used to say this a decade ago when I first started speaking and doing motivational stuff. Turn CNN off. What does CNN stand for? Constantly negative news. Now it's just turning into constantly negative fake news. I mean, it's bizarre, but people become addicted to that, and it's a problem for sure.
Yeah, I used to say that no one died today because I didn't watch the news.
Yeah, right. So what else is going on in the news lately? Have you seen any other interesting stories? I mean, I feel like everything's dominated kind of right now still with a lot of the Israel and Hamas war going on.
Yeah, that's tough. That's really tough.
Any thoughts on any of that? What's what might come to be? We got World War III coming. What do you think?
I think something bad's going to happen. Absolutely. It's growing. It's growing quickly with Syria. It's growing quickly with Iran. It's growing. It's going to become ugly. And it's sad because now, but just so you understand, North America used to be kind of an island. So even when all the other world wars were going on, we were mostly protected by this water that surrounded us. It ain't going to happen this time. There are missiles and there are planes that can fly faster than we can stop them, and it's going to become a problem. I mean, we saw what happened in 9/11. We saw. I mean, it didn't take very long for these guys to figure out how to throw planes into the World Trade Center and the Pentagon and cause major damage. So we may see sort of some of that too. I mean, we've got New Palestine. I mean, New York City, doing the protests, and it's ridiculous. It's like really, this is what we come down to. It's okay to ambush, 350 people and kill babies, behead them, and kill them in front of their parents, and then and we're supposed to say, oh, well, we want peace. Cut me a freaking break. This is not the way the world should be. They should be against those people. Everyone in the world should be against those people, and everyone in the world is trying to stop them. Speaking of Elon Musk, I mean, I saw a recent interview with him, and I hate to say that he's right, but how many, every time you kill one Hamas person, how many more Hamas people were created because you killed that one Hamas person? And it's so true because the hatred just grows. They don't understand that they don't care that Hamas attacked Israel first. All they care about is that the fact that one of their family members died at the hands of an Israeli, and now they want revenge. And it's a no-win situation. It really is a no-win situation. It's sad, and I'm for Israel, of course, as not only as an American, but I'm for Israel as a Jew. I just don't know where this is going to end, and I don't know. I think I said enough.
No, it's fascinating to me. I mean, I grew up my entire life just learning about the Holocaust and just atrocities and just history and everything like that. It just seems like the last 5-6 weeks now since October 7th, just like the whole world, like my entire what I knew was turned upside down. Like I never thought in my lifetime I would see active, humongous protests and gatherings against the Jewish people. I just never thought I'd see that in my life. I never thought I'd see the amount of anti-Semitism that I've seen over the last month. It's
amazing.
Openly okay, but openly promoted by people in the U.S. government. I never thought I'd see that. It's bizarre to me, Larry. I don't understand it.
Well, we're no longer the America we were. I mean, look, Trump actually had the greatest slogan, "Make America Great Again." This is what we have now. We have crap. But we have the Democrats saying, "Oh, this is fantastic. I think the way the world is is great. Men can cut off their penises and become women. How cool is that?" And Israel, who needs them? They're fucking lost. They're out of their freaking mind. They really are. They're just out of their mind.
Yeah. It's a lot of noise out there and a lot of distractions, and just back to what we do. I mean, that's why I love what we do, Larry. We go out and we share positivity. We share with people how to make their lives better, how to who cares who's in the White House at the end of the day. Sure, let's support people, but at the end of the day, does it directly affect your life in a way that you can't manage? I mean, I feel like there's things that we can do to say, F them, who cares? Of course, we'll do what we can to get the right people in, but at the same time, you still got to live your life. It's not going to end because one person or the other is going to get elected. So that's why I love what we do, Larry. So I appreciate what you do, my man, and Chris and what we do at Money School and BYOB and everything else. So here's kind of a change of subject real quick. So it seems like every month or two, we get headlines that the government's going to shut down again. So I just saw this again yesterday. House passes bill to avoid another government shutdown. Senate to vote next. So I don't know what this looks like. I haven't read into it yet, but the House passed the bill to fund the government through early next year. The bill needed support from both Republicans and Democrats in a deeply divided chamber. The Senate will take up the bill next, where leaders on both sides have signaled support. But, why does this keep happening? Like, why do we keep kind of getting to the point where it's going to all shut down if we don't do this, last minute thing? And when's that going to end? How's that going to end?
So it's never going to end because it's great news. It's never going to end because it's great for both parties. It's their fault. It's their fault. It's their fault. It's their fault. So it'll never end. The reality is, guess what? We've seen the government shut down a couple of times, and the government doesn't actually shut down. Did you know that? That the government doesn't actually shut down? So I knew somebody a while ago who worked for Homeland Security, and interestingly enough, they take part of their oath is, that they have to protect the government, protect the United States, blah, blah, blah. So I was with that person one time, and she got a phone call. And the phone call was her boss. And her boss says, tomorrow the government is going to shut down. They're literally going to shut down tomorrow. And it happened. It was one of those times it actually shut down. And her boss said, hey, we need you to take a pledge right now that you will continue working if we need you. And of course she said yes, blah, 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 blah. Even though she knew she wasn't going to get paid. Now, the funny part was, they didn't really have to call her, so she really wasn't doing much. And then 3 weeks later, the government opens back up, and they back pay for 3 weeks. What the hell? So now they don't even work. The government workers are going, please shut down, please shut down, please shut down. The government workers love it when it's a shutdown. They get deferred payment. Big freaking deal. They go on vacation. It's a joke. It's a complete joke. And on top of that, the government can't legally not pay their debts. It's in the Constitution. I forgot where it was, but they can't legally not pay their debt. They have to pay their debts. So the government shutdown is a big joke. It's a big distraction. It's a big news article. That's all it ever is. Watch it. Watch how quickly they solve it, or when they don't solve it, the game plays for a week or two, and then boom, they solve it anyway. Just stop the madness. Just give them an unlimited budget. Who cares? There's an unlimited budget now anyway. Anytime the government needs money, they just borrow it. I don't even know where they're borrowing it from. I find it funny that we always say that we're borrowing the money from China. Where do they get it from?
It's a good question. Yeah, it's definitely pretty bizarre. And when you start talking about money and where's it coming from and what's that look like, I saw this article. It's pretty interesting. So this came out a couple days ago, 2 days ago, talking about the October Treasury statement is out, and wait till you see what interest on the debt is costing. And just a little clue here before we get into it, $1 trillion annually and going higher. So that's what we're currently paying just on our debt. And as we say with rates, a lot of this debt starting to get cycled through at higher rates, that's just going to continue to climb. So kind of see some of these different charts, what that looks like over the last couple of years and just growing and growing and growing and getting to a point where it's really just kind of show you real fast. First, $67 billion monthly deficit does not include $176 billion in rebuilding the Treasury's operating cash. So the deficit is actually worse than it appears. But look at net interest of $76 billion, the third largest outlay by function behind only defense and Social Security. And it gets worse. Gross interest was $89 billion for the month. That's 40% of all income taxes collected just on the debt, Larry. It's almost twice the level from October 2022 last year. It's less than $1 billion away from surpassing the Department of Health and Human Services. Only Social Security is bigger after that, on track for $1 trillion this fiscal year. Just kind of shows some of those numbers. So I don't know, but I don't know how that's sustainable.
So I don't care. That's my answer. So all you guys are, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Who cares? Listen, there's two economies out there. There's the world economy and there's my economy or your economy, right? So what I look at is I look at my economy. If my economy is good, I don't care. If my rental incomes are coming in, and even if the rents drop 20%, which they probably won't drop 20%, but even if they drop 20%, can I still make my mortgage payments? Can I still live? I'm fine. I will be fine for the rest of my life. I don't care anymore. And I don't really care what the government's doing. By the way, everybody wants to do this, right? They're like, the government is taking my money and giving it to illegal aliens at the border and who cares? Who cares, right? Here's what I'm going to suggest. Even if you convince the government to stop giving the money to the places that you don't want to give them to, they will just move that money that you gave them anyway somewhere else. So your taxes are never going down because they're not giving it to the illegal alien at the border. That's not going to make the difference. The best way to make your taxes go down is to do things that will cause you less tax, make it so that you can pay less taxes. Open LLCs, create businesses, get write-offs, know how write-offs work. Don't put everything in your own name, and start to realize that as long as you're paying less taxes, you don't care where the money goes. Remember when Mitt Romney ran? It was so funny. When Mitt Romney ran many years ago, and the whole thing about him paying 14% taxes, he only paid 14% effective tax rate. Oh man, oh my God. You know what my first reaction was?
What?
His accountant sucks. That was my first reaction. Only 14, he paid 14%, he paid that much. You know, it's funny because everybody are like, yeah, I do this sometimes in class. I'm like, all right, you know, what percentage taxes do you pay? And everybody goes, oh, I pay 32, I pay 37, blah, 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 blah. Bullshit. Look at your effective tax return, it'd probably be between 12 and 14%. Most of you are paying less than that, you don't even know it.
Yeah. No, you got a great point. I mean, it was what was it when Hillary called out Trump in that debate, and he goes, because for not paying taxes, and he goes, because I'm smart.
Because I'm smart. Yeah, right. It was great.
That was one of the best comments ever. But I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, if you do things right, there's a reason. I always say this, man. There's a reason the tax code book is this thick, and it's so complicated. And the reason is because they don't want everyday people to understand it and take advantage of it. They leave that for the elite. But we all realize is you don't have to be elite to take advantage with it. And, we teach this stuff. We teach it in our Money School 3-day trainings, our wealth webinars, which, by the way, we have one today at 1 p.m. Eastern, where Devin Burr is going to get into how he just got back all of the money for a brand new Porsche he just bought. And not only that, but he's going to get paid to drive the thing for the next few years. And how he effectively has reduced his tax burden almost to zero through 1041 tax strategies. And so there's all these different things you can do. You just have to be intelligent with it. It's not hard. It's just about education. This stuff's not taught normally. Like you said, Larry, you teach it to your students all the time. Same exact thing. And if you understand it, once you see it, I mean, we say this is the way we explain it. There's 2 tax codes in this country, one for the informed, one for the uninformed. Both are legal. Which one are you taking advantage of?
Absolutely true. I find it fascinating that most people don't even realize that they don't even pay in 2024 they don't even pay taxes on the first $13,850 that they make. So whatever you make, you subtract $13,850 from it, you don't even pay taxes on it, and that's per person, by the way. So if you're a married couple, it's 27, whatever it is. So it's fascinating to me, and you don't even understand if you own a business, pay your kids the $13,850 because they're not going to pay taxes on that $13,850, and to you it's a tax write-off. If you have 5 kids, that's a lot of money, and you can use that money to put into. So I would put several places. One is a Roth IRA, the other one is an infinite banking policy. Every single person should have an infinite banking policy on their kids. You want to know why the number one reason why everybody should have an infinite banking policy, or even forget about infinite banking policy for a minute? Talk about life insurance, just life insurance. Not term life, any whole life policy, and I don't care which one it is, a whole life policy on your kids. Number one reason, when I turned 38, I became uninsurable. You want to know when you make the most amount of wealth? You make the most amount of wealth when you start hitting your 40s, your 50s, your 60s. It all starts to compound, all the things you've been doing. Even if you made mistakes, you got plenty of time to catch up. And for me, I'm making most of my wealth now. I'll be 60 in 12 days. Anyway, I'm making the most amount of money I've ever made now, right? So I need to protect those assets. And some ways to protect those assets is with life insurance. There's a whole bunch of things you need to do. You need to protect your kids. So if you get a life insurance policy for your kids now, even if it's $100,000, whatever, a whole life policy, they at least have $100,000 worth of life insurance for the rest of their life, assuming they're paying it. Assuming they pay it. And if you're dumping money into it, it's going to grow incredible. You could take, I did this math a long time ago. The funny part, Steve, I don't know if you know this, but about 40 years ago, I was a life insurance agent. And I actually did the math. Without doing drop-ins, if you put in $365, because I did $1 a day, $365 premium for a policy for a brand new child, a child who's just born, and you paid that $365, $1 a day, for their entire life. By the time they were 65, they had well over $1 million in their whole life insurance policy, and well over $1 million in coverage. And I bet you the numbers are better now because I know the policies are more efficient now.
Oh yeah, man, it's really cool stuff. I mean, once you start down the path of learning all these different strategies and ways of being your own banker and paying less in taxes and investing and having your money grow for you and your money work for you. And it just, once you start this journey, it's hard to look back. It really is. And I mean, you talk to students and clients every day. I talk to students and clients every single day, and you hear it over and over again. I mean, I don't think I've ever met somebody who's like, I started this and kind of revert back. It's very rare, to the old way of looking at money and investing. It's really amazing.
Yeah, and just so the audience knows, I don't sell life insurance. I'm not licensed. I don't make any money selling life insurance. I'm a big believer in this. All I do is teach financial education. That's all I do. And when I look at infinite banking policies, by the way, I've known about it for many, many years. I met Brett Kessler, and I loved the way he described it. That was the thing. The way he explained how it worked was phenomenal. And then I met you, and I met Chris, and I met the whole team. And I'm just a big fan of you guys. I suggest that all my students have an infinite banking policy. I know somebody online right now is saying she's in the process of setting up her policy right now. But that's what I do. And if anybody ever wants to reach out to me for an independent opinion, they could feel free to reach out to me for an independent opinion. I have no problem telling you what I think. I even wrote about it in my book, Money Hacks. I even wrote about it, chapter 13. I talk about being your own bank and using infinite banking policies. And again, I am absolutely not licensed to sell it. I can't make any money on it. So all I do is support people who know what they're talking about. And these guys know what they're talking about.
Well, I really appreciate it, Larry. This was really good. It looks like you got the sun finally coming up out there in Vegas on through the window. So hopefully it's a beautiful day out there in Las Vegas, and you have a great trip. You got any events going on, or speaking anywhere, or just hanging for the races? Or?
Yeah, so I was hanging out with a multi-billionaire last night. That was kind of cool. And we got to ask some questions. And of course, my question was, how can I be of service? And I'm going to tell you what the answer to that is later, because I want to make sure that really happens. I don't want to put the whammy on it. Also, by the way, if anybody wants to reach me, you can go to contactlarry.com. That's contactlarry.com, and you'll get links to all of my stuff. As a matter of fact, if you even want a 15-minute appointment with me for free, I would do that. I usually charge $500 for half an hour. But if you want to talk about anything, I don't care if it's infinite banking or anything that has to do with finances, go to contactlarry.com. And of course, if you want to take a complimentary class on Thursday, you can go to investorschooling.com. That's investorschooling.com. And you can take a complimentary class there. And I'm telling you right now, you're going to learn something. I guarantee you're going to learn something. Oh, as a matter of fact, I think this week, we're going to be talking about why real estate investors should become real estate agents. So that's going to be kind of neat too. So I would definitely do that too.
Yeah, that's a really interesting discussion for sure. That's cool. You're kind of tackling that, because there's definitely pros and cons to both, and you kind of hear it back and forth. And so that's really cool. I'm still just trying to win that $200 being the last comment on your Facebook post. So I don't think I've won the 200 yet, though.
No, that's kind of fun, isn't it? That post is hysterical. Yeah, so if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, if you follow me on Facebook, she's going to make it worse now. I'm giving away $200 to someone who was the last post, to make the last comment on my post. I'll give you $200, but here's the deal. Nobody can post for 7 days. So your last post that's for 7 days, I will give you 2 crisp $100 bills.
He's got like 2,000 or 3,000 comments on it now.
Yeah.
I absolutely love it, man. Well, it's always great getting to get together with you, Larry, even though it's virtual, but I'll see you in person soon, I'm sure. Thanks for coming on. We really do appreciate it. And you guys go follow Larry on Facebook, Larry Steinhouse, contactlarry.com. Like you said, he's got some cool giveaways and things like that on there. And Larry, thanks so much, man. It's great to see you.
You got it, man. Looking forward to talking to you again.
Yes, sir. Enjoy your time in Vegas. See you soon. Thanks, guys. Everyone have a great day.